Hello. It's Tawana here. Good evening, good afternoon, or good morning, depending on where you are hopping on from. I am a career transition coach, and I'm here today with the second of three parts of this series about burnout. So the series is burnout. Should I quit my job? Right? And today, well, if you were here Monday, I did part one where I talked about what burnout is, and then how do you know you have it, right? You can catch that. You can catch a replay either on my profile on YouTube or in my group, Courage to Transition Your Career for Professional, High Achieving Professional Women. So as you are hopping on, go ahead and drop hashtag live and let me know that you're on live. I do have some additional screens up, so I'm hoping to be able to see questions. So, yes, you can ask me questions, make comments, all of that good stuff, right? So, I think that yes, I do. I see the live feed there, and let me check on my personal profile to be sure that it is there as well. Yes, so we are all systems go. If you can hear me, can you drop a number one to let me know that you can indeed hear me? I would definitely appreciate that. So, if you have questions, be sure to drop them in the comments, right? So I can answer those while I am on live. Okay. And I do have a freebie for you tonight, so be sure to stay until the end, and I will drop that in the comments in a couple different places to be sure that you get that freebie. It is a PDF, and it is a list of 10 questions you can ask yourself to recognize burnout, which is very, very important, because sometimes people see burnout as being like weak, someone's just being weak, or if you can't handle the heat, just stay out of the kitchen, that type of thing. And burnout is actually serious, right? We talked about on Monday that this is a particular type of workplace stress, and it really does come from the inability to successfully manage chronic workplace stress, and it has some side effects, right? Again, if you look at the video that I did on Monday, I shared with you that I've seen people, leave work and be very, very sick, enter into the hospital, and not always be able to get their health back. So there is a reason why we talk burnout and doing stress management, because it is a lifetime. It can be a lifetime issue if it's not handled properly, right? So again, it's not about being weak. It's nothing like that. It is a lot of things that happen. So, yes, we know that burnout is a personal issue to resolve all day long. If we are burned out, it's our responsibility, right, to resolve that. But the risk factors that contribute to burnout, they're in the workplace. They're in the workplace. And so while it may be a personal responsibility to resolve the burnout, the factors that contribute to burnout are actually in the workplace. And again, you don't have to be physically in the workplace, like, because a lot of people are teleworking. So you don't have to physically be in an office space. Oftentimes it is, but for people, I've spoken to people since COVID-19 and they're teleworking, but they're still burned out because now they have the stresses of a job and they have the stresses of the home, and they're expected to do both at 100, more than 100%, and neither one of those give way. And then you can have a whole bunch of other stresses from the job that sit on top of the stresses from home, and you can actually get burnout, right? So there are lots of things that can, factors that can contribute to burnout. And so let me ask you this: anybody that's listening, drop a yes in the comments if you've experienced burnout, or drop a yes in the comments if someone has experienced. If you had a coworker, manager, because that can happen. Managers end up, trying to do so much and trying to keep the ship afloat, trying to keep everything going, and they can get burned out too. So it's not just about, the employees, but management can get burned out, project managers, anybody really, you know, especially here with COVID-19, you had a lot of people in hospital settings. There's a lot of dealing with COVID-19. There's a lot of death with that. There's a lot of uncertainty and not enough staff to go around, depending on, which hospital you're working in. So yes, you can get burnout. So burnout isn't about being lazy, not wanting to work. That's not it at all. It's just way too much things being zinged at you, right? So job burnout can result from several factors. And one of those factors is a lack of control about your job, especially how many people work shift work. Let's see, let me check my comments here. So Brittany says, yes, I've experienced burnout. Yes, thank you, Brittany. Right. And again, it's not about being weak. It's not about being lazy. It really is about a lot of factors, many of which you don't necessarily control. You know, I have been blessed to be able to walk away when I feel burnout coming. When I say walk away, I started actually applying for jobs to leave because I knew what burnout was. I knew what it looked like. I looked over at other people get very, very sick. Then I was a single parent with 3 kids. I couldn't afford to get burned out. I couldn't afford it. I literally couldn't, because if I get burned out, there's nobody to take care of the kids. So I was very fortunate because, I'm also in this arena, so that I recognized it and started taking precautions. And that's what we'll talk about in part 3. So be sure to come back Monday night, 8 p.m. for part 3, when we talk about, should you really quit your job if you're burned out? We'll ask, we have some things that you can ask yourself to determine that. But absolutely. So let me go over. If you do shift work, drop shift, hashtag shift in the comments. The reason why I'm saying that is sometimes people on shift work don't have control of the shift. You may do, third shift for so many months, then you'll switch and you get second shift for so many months, then you'll switch and you'll get first shift for so many months. And some people on shift work don't get to so many months. This week, they may be on third shift. The following week, they may be on first. And the next week, they could be on second. That's a lack of control of the work environment, right? And so that, you don't have the ability to influence it, decisions about your job. You don't have the ability sometimes to influence the schedule, the assignments, or the workload. And that can contribute to burnout, right? So as well, if you're shifting, doing all the shift work, or even if you're just working the same shift, but you don't have the resources that you need. It's like trying to rob Peter to pay Paul to do your job. Over time, that causes burnout as well. Okay, so definitely the lack of control in the environment over your shifts, your assignments, or the resources that are available for you. So I'm just going to pause every so often because I have 2 different screens going. I'm coming on to you from one screen, but I have 2 different screens coming. And I also need to look out there because I know that YouTube, I am also live on YouTube. So if you have questions, ladies and gentlemen, feel free to ask your questions about burnout. Okay, so another huge incident that happens with burnout, a factor that causes burnout, is a dysfunctional workplace. Now, I said dysfunctional. Give me a hand raise if you've been in a dysfunctional work environment before. Now, dysfunctional for one person may be dysfunctional, different from dysfunctional of the next person, right? Sometimes the dysfunction is, let's say, managers don't get along and they're yelling and screaming at each other. For someone that, like me, that has social anxiety, that dysfunction could really trigger burnout for me, right? It's the burnout. It's the dynamics in the workplace. It's a toxic work environment, be it among all the colleagues, or maybe you have a boss who micromanages and you cannot stand that. Being micromanaged when you cannot stand it does create the factors, and it creates situation where you can get burned out, right? So does, you ever been in those workplaces where you can't trust your colleagues? Yeah, you've got steps, 4 and 5 of the process, and someone else has 1 through 3, and somebody else has 7, 8, 9, or 6, 7, 8, 9. But you're never gonna get 1, 2, and 3 from your coworker because they sabotage you, they undermine you, they give you half, work is half done, or they're consistently late. Those factors can cause, after a while, that dysfunction in the workplace, and those dynamics can cause burnout. Yeah, I've seen it. I've seen it. It is it's something else. It really is something else, right? Another factor. So we've already discussed two: lack of control and a dysfunctional workplace. The third factor that can cause burnout is work-life balance. When there's like none, and especially now when a lot of people are teleworking, because your boss is like, "Ooh, there's no traffic, there's no commute, and now I can get hold of you. And so anytime I call you on the phone, you should be available. Anytime I text you, I email you, you better come up on the phone all the time." And you're at home and you got young kids there. For some people that have young kids, they may have kids, they may have grandkids, nieces and nephews, depending on who's in that workspace. And sometimes you got a break to take care of a child. But your boss is going like, no, 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 no. Every time I call you, every time I email you, every time I text you, you need to be on point. Answer me as soon as I call you, that type of thing, right? And so then so much of your energy has been sucked up by trying to do your job. You don't have energy left for the family. If you don't have a family, if you're single, you live alone, you don't have energy left for yourself. And sometimes people expect that if you're single or you have no kids, well, you should mind working extra because the people with kids got to take care of the kids. No, 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 no. That still causes burnout. That is a factor that causes burnout. Okay. And number 4, we're talking the factors that can contribute to burnout. Lack of social support, feeling isolated at work and in your personal life, you start to feel more stress. And this one can really hit home. I'm a career transition coach as well as a licensed therapist. And therapists are really, oftentimes we work alone. We work in the session with the client. If you have a family or you have a couple, you may have more than one client, but those clients are not there for your support. They're there so they can get support from you. So being a therapist can be a lonely position because it's you and the client. And when you're done, it's just you. And if you're at home by yourself, if you don't have networks and friends that you can talk to, that lack of social support can make you feel very isolated. And when we as human beings, when we're isolated, it personifies everything. It just like 10x's, anger, anxiety, depression. Being lonely can really 10x those factors. And that is what can also contribute to burnout, right? Another field of work that's fairly lonely, and that's truck drivers, right? Oftentimes they're in the truck by themselves. Cab drivers, Uber drivers, they're in those positions by themselves. Yes, they may have a customer come in, but that customer is not there for your support. So you can't count that as social support because you're providing service. They go and you're left by yourself. Those are some of the career fields that it could be isolating. So you have to have that social support system, someone that you can call, text, Zoom because of the pandemic, what have you, to talk things out. If nothing more, to say hi, care about you, how are you doing? Those things, that is a basic human need. Basic human need to feel like we belong and get that support from a fellow human being. Now, some people can get it from a dog or a pet, right? And so sometimes you can substitute those things, but a lack of social support actually does contribute to burnout. Okay. So for those of you who are watching, anybody feel like they've had burnout because of lack of social support in the workplace? It can easily happen. It can happen. You don't have to be, I gave you some career fields where people basically work alone. You can still have lack of social support and be in a huge company, especially if you're in places like you do shift work, Ford Motor Company, if you work in an assembly line, whether you're supervising or working a line, you're kind of there doing your job. And sometimes you don't get that time to socialized or support, or you're being micromanaged and people make you feel guilty if you stop and talk to people. So those are some of the things that can actually cause burnout, right? And so that was number 4. Number 5 is extremes of activity. When a job is high stress and you go to actually before you even get to the job, they're text messaging you or calling you because you're busy all day long. It's just chaotic. It's just stuff to do all day long, one after the other, and it gets very difficult to prioritize because everything is due all the time. That extreme of activity can cause burnout. But so does the anybody been in those jobs where you're there kind of on a shift by yourself or a couple people and there's nothing to do all day long, but you have a micromanaging boss who you should be looking busy for? The other extreme, if it's monotonous or it's just not enough to do, and it can cause burnout, right? It leads to fatigue and then job burnout. So whether you're not having enough work to do, you're trying to make yourself look busy. I had a job like that, and I said never again. I was never ever going to work at a job where I had to, for 8 hours of the day, make myself look busy because there wasn't enough work to do. It was so stressful. I had to get out of there. That did not work at all for me. And again, I've been blessed because I was able to leave a job, but there's some times I couldn't. And man, I'm telling you, I felt myself getting really close to burnout. Right. So that was the 5th thing. Those extreme activity, be it monotonous and boring all day long, or just so much stuff chucked into the time where you're actually trying to take work home with you because you can't get it all done. They lead to job burnout as well. And so the 6th and last factor is unclear job expectations, when you're not clear who you report to because you have 2 or 3 bosses and they all want to be in charge and they all want to tell you what to do. That can cause stress, extreme stress, and job burnout. If you're never clear on what you should be doing, like you get, oh, you should be doing this, and this person comes on, why are you doing that? You're supposed to be over here doing this. That uncertainty just causes a lot of stress in the environment. You don't feel comfortable. Your self-esteem can drop, your self-confidence can drop because you don't feel like you ever get a really great grip on what you should be doing. And then you look up and someone wants to give you an evaluation. You're going like, on what? I just spent 12 months not having a clue what I'm really supposed to be doing. Those unclear job expectations really can hamper you and cause job burnout. I've done that before, where your manager doesn't quite know what you're doing, and you go ask what you should be doing or how you should be doing it or what it is. Then they really don't know, and they tell you to go find out. You're the new kid on the block. How are you gonna go find out? That really causes a lot of anxiety in the workplace and can lead to burnout, right? So I've discussed today with you 6 factors that can, trigger or cause burnout. Like I said, burnout is a personal issue to resolve. It's yours, right? It is yours. However, these factors, they exist in the workplace. So those are actually the workplace. There's not much you can do about these, right? But understand when you're experiencing you're in these type of workplaces, then you need to be ready to start managing those anxiety of including possibly getting another job. That's Monday's topic. What can you do, as well as should I really quit my job? Okay. Now, I promise you, if you stay to the end, that I would have a freebie for you. And let me put that in the comments. And this is a PDF. It's a free PDF. When you get to the page, all you got to do is put your name and your email address in. But these are the 10 questions to ask yourself so you can recognize burnout. Very important because, I've told you a little bit about burnout over the past 2 days. We got more coming next week. However, you do need to understand these are the questions that you can ask. Very, very important. So I got a Facebook user that put 1 here that she could hear me. Thank you very much. And another Facebook user that says, hello, right back. And Brittany, of course, said, yes, I have experienced burnout. It really isn't fun. I'm going to put that. Yeah, I know that YouTube, I will put that in the chat later because I can't put it here on StreamYard. It will not go to YouTube, but that's okay. It may not. may or may not, but I'll get it out there. Brittany, I know that you said you experienced burnout. Is there anything that you would like to share with us about what you felt? What did you notice was going on that you knew or you felt you were starting to get burned out and get to that space? Um, and if only if you feel comfortable, Brittany. I know for me that I didn't know how close I was to burnout or to a nervous breakdown until I calmed down 1,000. I finally got that relief. And what I found out was that for me, it was I wasn't able to get enough sleep, this lack of sleep. So mine was because I was working full time. I was going to school working on a master's degree full time. And I was also a single parent to 3 kids. And we were doing Girl Scouts, piano lessons. There was some basketball in there. There was some volleyball in there. There was a lot going on. And Brittany says, I noticed that I dreaded going in every day. Yes, Brittany, absolutely. That's one of the clues. If you wake up, there was some volleyball in there. There was a lot going to come in there. If you wake up, or even if you wake up at nighttime and there's a sense of dread that comes over you, or if you're one of those who all of a sudden when it's time to start getting ready to go to work, you start having stomach issues, diarrhea, nausea, your head starts to hurt, or your stomach starts to hurt, or your shoulders or neck is so tight that you get a tension headache. Those are all signs. Whenever you get ready to go into that job, those could be signs of job burnout, right? Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you. Appreciate you sharing that. Brittany says that I complained a lot and had lack of sleep. Yes, because the thing with sleep is that that's how our body, actually our brain, that's a part of what it does. The brain restores and puts things where they're supposed to be. But if you don't get down to the delta level of sleep, because there are four phases of sleep, if you will, 4 waves. So right now we're in Bravo. That's the alert phase of sleep. Well, not sleep, it's alert phase. When you go to sleep, you fall to alpha, right? Then you fall to theta. And between alpha and theta, that's where the hypnotic phase is. You're still alert, you can still respond, but we use the hypnotic phase for suggestions when we do hypnosis. Then you go from theta to delta. Delta is your deep sleep, right? Your non-REM sleep. When you don't get enough delta sleep, it starts to wear on you. Very anxious easily, or you're angry easily, you're easily irritated, aggravated, frustrated. And when this goes on a while, because you're in a toxic workplace, you start to get burnout. Thank you for sharing, Brittany. That's exactly right. You start to get burned out. And it doesn't have to take a long time. It can be a short time, especially if you have other stressors, like you're at the job, you have all the stress, and financially you're stressed. Like, let's say you're working at the job and your spouse owns a business and the business is not doing well. See, that's extra added stress. And any workplace stress falls down on top of that, right? And it can be it doesn't take long to lead to burnout. Okay. I'm going to check my other screen here to see if I have any more comments out there. Ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate you being here. Those of you who catch the replay, thank you, thank you, thank you for that. You can drop hashtag replay there. For those of you who were on live today, thank you, thank you, thank you for that as well. And as you catch this on the replay, if you have questions, comments, go ahead and drop them in the comments. Always circle back to my videos to address and answer comments, right? And so do go ahead and get that free PDF, 10 questions you should ask if you're trying to recognize burnout. 10 questions you can ask. Again, you get to the page, you just drop your email in, drop your name in, and you'll go right there so that you're able to download the PDF. If there are no more comments, and I'm going to check one more time, and I see none. So I am going to sign off. Again, be sure you're back here Monday, 8 p.m. for the last session. What should I do when I experience burnout? And then should I quit my job, right? If you know someone that can benefit from this live, go ahead and tag them or share this with them. We'll be very appreciative. And I am going to sign off now. Take care. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.